What's up, guys? This is my first, YouTube video on this channel, and I wanted to talk about the Raichu Vespiquen Gallade list that I used in Standard to get top 8 at Florida States. So this list was given to me by a friend Azul and my friend Anthony, and they both respectively got top 4 at Week 1 and Week 2 states with it. So I decided to, give it a shot for Week 3 because I didn't really know what to play. Now this list isn't exactly what I played. The Bunnelby is actually a 4th Shaman, and I'll just leave that to your imagination as we go on because I don't actually have a 4th Shaman online. So, okay, so I'll explain the list briefly. There's 4 Shaman, which is just standard draw for a deck that relies on Battle Compressor. You want to get, like a Night March deck, you want to get as many Pokemon in the discard on your first turn. You want to be able to set up your field, because this is a stage 1 deck that requires stage 1 attackers. You want to be able to set up more than just like one Combi or one Pikachu on your first turn. You want to be able to get two to three of a combination between Combi and Pikachu onto your field. Secondly, you've got Gallade. Now what Gallade does is that Gallade has Sensitive Blade. His Premonition is the ability. Premonition is the top 5 cards of your deck. Rearrange them in any order and put them back. And that's pretty important in a deck like this because you usually get to like 8, 9 cards left in your deck by the end of your second or third turn. And from there on out, it just depends on what you draw in what order you draw it to win the game. And having a way to rearrange the top 5 cards of your deck, knowing when you're going to draw something that you need, and getting what you need is pretty important. But second, its attack isn't bad either, which is a Sensitive Blade, which does 60 plus 70 if you use a supporter, so you can kill Shamans, kill an attacker, kill a Mega Manectric. Something that's just tricky. It's like a third backup attacker. And you've got the main attacker, of course, of the deck, Vespiquen, which is 20 plus 10 times the number of Pokemon in your discard. Free Retreat, which is great for the card. Raichu is first attack is Circle, which is the only thing we need to know here. It's 20 times the number of Pokemon on your bench, so you max out at 100 damage. Raichu is really good against decks that have attackers below 100 or below HP, or things that have weakness to lightning, like Yveltal EX and Mega Rayquaza. And now you're thinking, you don't play a Skyfield. How are you ever going to one-shot a Mega Rayquaza? That's why you've got a Muscle Band in the deck, which I'll get to later. But that's pretty much it for the Pokemon, except for 4 Unknown, which is pretty staple in any Vespiquen list, which is go through Unknowns. Then there's 4 Battle Compressor, which is pretty integral to any Vespi list. Now let's go to the weird stuff in the deck, I guess. There's an Enhanced Hammer in the deck. The one Enhanced Hammer is probably the only way you can win against a Seismitoad Giratina deck, because if a Seismitoad Giratina deck gets an attack off with their Giratina, you've probably lost at that point. While you do play a Xerosic, the game does become incredibly difficult, and I wouldn't recommend wanting to be in that position ever, because then the Giratina will take 3 to 4 prizes before you can ever answer it, and by the time you can answer it, they'll have a Seismitoad ready to just start plowing through your field, and they usually play puzzles all the time, so reliably getting rid of their energy isn't a method to win the game. So you want to get that turn where you get the Enhanced Hammer off on the Giratina, and then the following turn probably Lysander and kill it, or continuously. Then from that point on, Xerosic it. You have to get the upper hand, and you don't want to use your Xerosic super early because you want to be setting up your field as well. There's one switch, which in case you start a poor attacker or they drag up a Gallade or something, you can switch out of the active spot, and it helps out a lot, actually. The one target whistle is actually really big to winning a lot of games, because against Night March and other Vespiquen decks, because you're trading one price attackers, the way to get the final say is you finish the game off with a target whistle Lysander, because, well, target whistle's just nuts, and every deck plays Shaman right now, almost. So, 2 Trainer's Mail. This card wasn't as big as I thought it would be. It just kind of like sits It helps you get that like dig for that one enhanced hammer, or dig for that one target whistle later in the game. Dig for the one switch, dig for the one muscle band, whatever. 4 Ultra Ball, 4 VS Seeker, standard. AZ, super clutch in situations where I like open Shaman, open Unknown. One of them gets dragged up. I want to like reuse a Shaman for the turn. Hex Maniac, chaining Hex literally is the only way I can beat Greninja. Hex Maniac also beats Aegislash because I only play 4 double colorless. 1 Lysander standard, 2 Maxis, 2 Sycamore, 1 06 standard. The 1 Muscle Band, super weird, I know, but I found the card more often when I needed it than I didn't, and with the puzzles of time, I was ensured at least a second one if I needed a second one. One was fine, I didn't need any more. And 4 double colorless energies, the staple bread and butter of the deck. And so I'll get into a tournament report of what happened and how I got to top 8. So get to Florida Regionals, everything's going pretty swimmingly. I need a minimum of top 16 to pick up my Worlds invite. So I'm pretty anxious. I don't know how the day's gonna go. Round 1, I go up against good buddy Graph and Roll. We both know each other's 60 cards at this point. We both testing partners, teammates. He's playing Vespiquen, Zoroark, Zipstrike. The first game, he stumbles a couple of times, and when you're trading one prize attackers, the moment one person stumbles, the other person can just run away with the game. Except I have a fallback mechanism, which is Target Whistle. In case I fall back, I can just try to chain 2 Target Whistles in a row and win the game. But he didn't have that option, so I was able to get ahead and stay ahead. And during the second game, I had a relatively dead hand, but as did he. He had a hand with triple DCE and supporter, but he didn't want to toss the 3 DCEs. And I had a hand with an enhanced hammer and a Zerosic and a couple VS Seekers, so I naturally gained the upper hand by getting rid of all his energy, and we both top decked out of it around the same time. He top decked a supporter, and I top decked a supporter the following turn, and I was able to set up, and he was able to set up. But because he had a lack of energies, I was able to run away with the game. The second game I went up against Parker Greenwald, who was playing Groudon, and Groudon's just probably one of the best matchups I can ask for. And while I did draw poorly, and because of his Wobbuffet start and my reliance on Shaman, I wasn't able to set up as well as I would have liked to. It got to the point where Vespiquen was just doing enough damage that I could just one-shot his Groudons. Sure, Focus Sash got in the way a little bit, but what I did was I killed 1 Groudon, and the moment 1 died, because his deck is so slow, I can gather the pieces in my hand to set up a Target Whistle Lysander play for a Groudon onto his bench 2 more times and win the game, which is what I did both games. So I was 2-0 at this point. Third round I went up against Daniel Ochoa, who was playing Yveltal Gallade with a couple of stadiums because he was a newer player. Because he was a newer player, I was explaining some of the cards in my deck to him. He just made the transition over from Magic, and he was playing a fairly standard Yveltal Gallade list, which I felt very confident that I should be able to beat. But the one, I won the first game with relative ease because he didn't know what Raichu did, and I was just able to sweep his board. The second game, I was in a commanding position until he dropped his Shadow Circle. Now, for those of you who don't know what Shadow Circle does, if any Pokemon has a dark energy attached to it, it doesn't have weakness. So I couldn't one-shot anything on his field with my Raichu. And I had gone with like an all-in Raichu approach. So, and I was able to just kind of deal, I guess, for a while, and then it came down to a point where I had to bench a Shaman, and that ended up costing me the game, because he was able to Lysander kill a Shaman for the game. In the third game, I got off to a really good lead, and he was unable to answer me, but time was called 1 turn before I could win the game. So the game went to a tie when I had 1 prize left, and he had all 6 of his, and so it was a tie. And the next game I went up against Luke Walsh, who was playing Night March. The game was streamed by the Meta Deck, so check them out. Give them some love. This was a streamed game. The first game, Luke was in a commanding position the whole game, and I was able to Target Whistle and kill one of his Shamans to try to keep up in the race. But Luke made a really big mistake on the last turn of the game. He tried to go in for the win, where he could have played it safe and set up for a 2-turn win, not knowing if I had a target with a Lysander play once more. But he tried to go all in for the win with a teammate and didn't have the cards he thought he did in his deck. Even though he had a town map, so I knew one of the cards he needed to win was prized. And he realized that immediately after he played the teammates. So he kind of punted that game. In the second game, I just got everything I needed, and he was drawing slowly, so I was able to, I guess, quickly run away with that one. I'm 3-0-1 at this point, knowing that I need to win one of my next 3 rounds to feel comfortable with the top 16 position and get my invite. The 5th round I played against Wilfredo, who's from Puerto Rico. He was playing Siphon Toad Giratina, which is on paper my worst matchup, and I was pretty scared. The first game I went first, and probably had one of the best starts I've had all day, and I was able to get like 14 or 15 Pokemon in the discard on my first turn, and he kept trying to set up a Giratina, but on the second turn I just had the resources to keep Lysandering that Giratina and killing it, and so he picked up his cards pretty relatively quickly in that game. And then the second game was different. I opened Shaman, had another Shaman, and a Vespiquen, and he was trying to power up a Giratina to start attacking me. So I took from the first game I realized, after seeing about a majority of his deck, that he didn't play any Puzzles of Time, which is pretty big for me. So I kind of sat back, let him attach energy to the Giratina, but never get an attack off, and I continuously Enhanced Hammer and Zero-Sticked until I had gotten rid of about 4 or 5 of his energies. And once I had done that, it was pretty comfortable that I could start attacking on my own, because all he had left to attack with was a Seismitoad. And with the natural grass weakness that it has, Vespiquen has a very easy time handling it. And I just had the resources left in my deck, and he didn't, to seal off the game. So the 6th round I go up against a good friend, Brandon Salazar, playing Night March. And this is the one time my deck decides to, I guess, draw dead. And both games, I don't get set up, he gets set up as Night March, and he rolls me with just 2 flat-out complete losses. Nothing to say about them. The 7th round I go up against John Cassidy playing Greninja, which is a poor matchup on paper, but as someone who's played Vespiquen for a long time, nothing is a bad matchup. Vespiquen, if I take 3 prizes before the Greninja player can take a first, I'm pretty comfortably in the lead, because Greninja player can probably take 2 prizes a turn, but once I've taken 3, I'll take my remaining 3 faster than they can take their full 6. And it depends on the amount of Jirachi promo they play. If they played a lot of Jirachi promo, I've lost at that point. It's very difficult for me to come back into the game. John, fortunately for me, didn't play any Jirachi promo, so I was able to take game 1 pretty convincingly by getting to an early lead. And once I'm ahead, I can just start chaining the Hex Maniacs that I need to. So I'm limiting John to at most 1 prize a turn, and keeping my bench Vespiquen, bench Raichu, whatever I need to attack with the following turn safe. The second game, John discarded a lot of energy on his first couple of turns, and I was able to analyze that situation and go ahead with just not letting him take advantage of my board state, and I just ran away with that game. And then I made top 8, got my 50 points, got my invite to World Championships in San Francisco, so that should be fun. Come back playing Brandon Salazar again, playing Night March. The first game was relatively close until there was a turn where I had 3 DC in the deck, about like 15 cards, and I Junipered, and I had to hit one of them to remove my Shaman from the board and kill his Joltik in the same turn, and I missed it. I missed the energy that I needed, which left my Shaman on the board, more importantly than anything. So I lost the lead that I had built up during that first couple of turns, and because I had also missed a knockout, I had fallen further behind than I would have liked to, and he had the Lysander response almost immediately to take that game. The second game, I was just not drawing the cards I needed to, and my opening shaman, I was tried to get a shaman for 4, attempting to get a supporter of any sort, and I shaman into all 4 of my DCs, and the game kind of ended pretty quickly from there, and that was my tournament run. So that's the deck. It ran really well. I really enjoyed the deck. It's like a Night March on steroids, I'd like to say. There was a lot of aspects of it that were different in a sense that I had the options to attack with different things, and every single thing in my deck was an attacker. So it was kind of cool, but at the same time it was difficult to use. And I was pretty happy that it ran as well as it did all day, because I felt like there was opportunities where it would have crapped out on me, and I would have lost some more games. But at the end of the day, it got me where it needed to get me, and that's it for Florida State's tournament report. I don't really know what I'm going to be doing on this channel yet. Just I could be doing tournament reports. I could be doing deck profiles. This is more casual than anything for me. So we'll see where I go. I'd like to make vlogs of the tournaments I travel to. Maybe like test play videos, something like interviews with a couple people. I don't know. Like, we'll see where we go. This is kind of an experimental thing for me. But yes, thank you for watching. Hopefully you guys subscribe, and I'd love to see some support. Just message me on Facebook, things you'd like me to do, text me, whatever. I'll try to do some stuff that people want to see, and we'll go from there. Alright, thank you guys so much.